Welcome to our personal empowerment audio program, Finding Yourself in Paradise. Hi, I'm Michael Benner.
And I'm Steve Snyder. And our program today is about managing stress to find your focus. And it's really kind of two for the price of one, because when you do manage your stress, you do indeed find your focus. And managing your stress really comes down to two things: managing the acute stress in your life and managing the chronic stress in your life. Now, the chronic stress in your life is like what builds all day long, the traffic and the deadlines and the careless mistakes people make. The acute cause of stress in your life is the way you just automatically react to your negative thoughts and feelings by tightening your muscles and holding your breath. And that causes your mind to think you're in danger, just like real danger would. So the secret to dealing with the acute cause of stress in your life is training yourself. We'll show you how to respond instead of react, to respond to your negative thoughts and feelings where the danger is not real by releasing your muscle tension and letting go of your breath. And the way you deal with the chronic cause of stress in your life is occasionally, throughout the course of your day, you put a little release valve in the top of the tea kettle of life, and you find yourself in paradise.
Yeah, even a pressure cooker has to have that little emergency release valve, because just in case. So we're going to show you the art and science of building in a relief valve that you can use to get to a state of expanded awareness, greater insight and understanding. Again, this highly stimulated state, whether it's brought about by multitasking, a need, as Steve said, to deal with all these external details, or your own internal angst, and mostly a combination of those two. What needs management is the conscious understanding that we're really not in any danger, because we have an automatic nervous system that just assumes the brain. It's built into the brain. It's hardwired, and it's chemical in nature. And it just assumes when you're confused that there's a high potential for danger. And so it goes through all these changes to prepare you to either fight the danger or run real fast and try and get away. And we are, after all, the descendants of people who were really, really good at that.
Okay. The most paranoid were the ones that survived.
Survival of the fittest. But survival of the fittest in this day and age has much more to do with dealing with confusion, things unknown, a lack of awareness, a feeling of victimization and helplessness. That's the source of our stress, our distress, our anxiety. And what needs management then is reassuring the brain, or if you will, the subconscious mind, that there's no danger here. The stress is confusion, and we relax instead. We substitute a relaxation response for the fight or flight response. We substitute a response for a reaction. We become the one who chooses, and that's a whole new identity.
Imagine if universally at work, everyone thought about you as a person who was always very thoughtful in their decisions and always very careful, never made careless mistakes, was always very, very easy to be with and very, very helpful. If you were universally thought of that way, well, the secret is release your stress, and that's exactly what will happen. You see, if you train your mind to respond, not react, but respond to your negative thoughts and feelings. Now, your negative thoughts are usually worry about your relationship or your family or your money or your health or just something that's important to you. And your anxieties are your feelings, and they aren't easy always to put your finger on, but they feel like something bad's going to happen, a sense of foreboding or a sense of impending doom. Either one of those causes you to react the same way you'd react to real danger, which is to tighten your muscles and hold your breath. And by training your mind to respond instead by letting go of your muscle tension and releasing your breath, your brain thinks you're safe, because that's what happens when you feel safe. If you're in danger, you start to get ready to hit or run. But if you release your muscle tension and let go of your breath, you feel safe. And all of a sudden, this worry thought or this anxiety feeling is connected to this feeling of safe, and it loses all its power. You just take away all its power. So the next time you think about it, it's just much weaker because it has this association of safety. So you just train yourself over a few days. Just pay attention to your thoughts. And when you have a negative thought or a negative feeling, and just it feels bad, or you have this thought of something bad's going to happen, a worry thought, an anxiety feeling, just find yourself going, Well, I'm glad I'm releasing that one. That feels nice to let go of that. And what happens is it makes you feel good to have a negative thought. You see, when you have a negative thought and you tighten your muscles and hold your breath, you get this adrenaline and the sugar and this cortisol that makes you hold on to your body fat. Stress leads to obesity. But when you release your breath, you get instead these wonderful chemicals. You get these endorphins that make you feel so good, like you get when you exercise or fall in love or appreciate beauty, and you become happy. You see, when you really, really like your positive thoughts and you really, really like your negative thoughts, when you really like all of your thoughts, you're happy. And so therefore you become a person who takes a deep breath and can always make thoughtful decisions, never makes careless mistakes, is walking around happy, easy to be with, and therefore your talent, your wisdom, your greatness comes through. So certainly you can be extraordinarily helpful. It's just a matter of responding to your negative thoughts and feelings. Instead of tightening your muscles and holding your breath, train yourself. Just do it for a few days. It'll start to happen automatically. Release your muscle tension. Let go of your breath.
We're calling this program Managing Stress to Find Focus. We're not just calling it stress management. I'll tell you why. Far too often when people hear stress management, they think of the, well, admittedly wonderful health benefits that accrue from managing stress and anxiety in your life. I mean, the fact that we call illness in general dis-ease is sort of a clue that there definitely is a mind-body connection. Well, that's all wonderful, but it's not the whole story. To manage stress, to find your focus, is a way of saying, hey, there are mental and emotional and physical in terms of performance benefits, not just health benefits, but all these other benefits that come from managing stress. I think a nice way to describe what we're talking about at the beginning here, of finding the genuine sense of self that comes from being the one that chooses rather than just being driven by your thoughts and feelings. A great word for this is mindfulness. And it's just taking a step back so that you can see the bigger picture and get a more complete, more inclusive understanding rather than to focus only on the bits. Sometimes, the nature of deductive logic is general to specific, and you take things apart and you look at the bits. But every once in a while, you got to take a breath and relax and mindfully choose to take a step back and look at the scheme, the overarching umbrella here, the concept behind it all. That's essential not only to critical thinking and emotional intelligence, but to a better, more complete sense of who you really are and what you're capable of doing.
So when you're at work and you're doing things that are really important, before you make any decisions, before you do anything, stop, take one slow, conscious, deep breath. That is, pay attention to the fact, I'm stopping here. I'm stopping here to take a breath. I'm doing this to stop what I was doing before, to get myself in this neutral gear. I'm going to take one slow, conscious, deep breath. And ask yourself, when you're about to do something important, ask yourself, is there a way I could do this better than the way I was just about to do it? Is there a way I could do this in a way that would get me a better result than my autopilot way? Is there a way I can improve my performance? This matters. This is worthy of thought. Is there a way I can do this better? And get that idea in your mind that when something important is coming up, before you do anything, before you make any important decisions at work. Now, at home or in your hobbies, there are times even at work that it doesn't matter. This is when it matters. When the chips are down, when the outcome counts, just take a moment and take one slow, conscious, deep breath. And then think about, okay, I'm about to do something that matters. I'm about to make a decision. I'm about to take a step. I'm about to do something that matters. Is there a better way? Can I be creative and think of even any part of this that I can improve upon? This is work. This is my performance at work. This really matters. If I can do better, some really wonderful things could happen.
Even if you have a solution to what appears to be a problem or a goal that resolves some sort of angst in your life, are you sure that solution is the best solution? What if you approached it as Steve is suggesting, is there a better way? Or my personal process is to first of all affirm I have choices. That's how I let go. That's how I detach and become mindful. I remind myself I have choices. I'm not a victim of my thoughts. I'm not riding shotgun with my brain over here on autopilot with its thoughts and feelings driving the car all by itself. Well, sometimes I am, but, the idea is to get behind the driver's seat and think of the steering wheel as your thoughts. That sort of creates your direction, and then take your foot off the brake. That's the fear, and accelerate with a little bit of passion. This is your focus and your passion, but it requires you to be in the driver's seat. It requires you to be the mindful one that says, I have choices. And then I always like to follow that with, and I have more choices than are immediately apparent. That's what puts me in the process that Steve is describing. And that's the first part of what this program is about today. You will discover that the more you understand yourself in this way, the more you like yourself, and the more self-confidence you'll have. And carry it in a humble way. That's part of the beauty of true self-confidence, is it doesn't make you appear all pumped up and pompous and arrogant and full of yourself. Actually, those are the people that don't know themselves very well at all. The more you know about yourself, you exude the kind of self-confidence that carries with it something really genuine that people love.
So you have this sense of enjoying all of your thoughts. You have this sense of finding each of them valuable to you, because they are, in fact, submitted for your approval. That they're only powerful in that you give them power. If you take your negative thoughts and negative feelings and release them, they won't have any power. And that makes you happy. And that gives you the opportunity to be an optimist, to look at things in a positive way, and to start to imagine that you are a role model. I mean, realize people are looking up to you, and if you imagine yourself being the kind of person that, as I said a little while ago, everybody looks up to, everybody admires as somebody who makes thoughtful, careful decisions, who always avoids careless mistakes, who's easy to be with, who's very helpful. If you imagine yourself being that way, being a team player, then that's what you start to become and start to exude. So what happens is you start to act that way, and you start to be the first to listen. And that's the real key to taking this to what I like to call alpha ado. Alpha is the state you're in, the alpha brainwave state. It's a state of focused concentration. Beta is the divided attention and all that panic state. But when you take that deep breath, when you focus your mind, when you bring your mind out of stress, by letting the physical tension go from your body, the emotional anxiety go from your gut, and that confusion go from your mind, that just relax it a little bit, then all of a sudden you access not this beta, but rather this alpha brainwave state, and you start to exude that, and it's contagious. People pick up on it, and you start to be the first to befriend. The key to making it work at work is to befriend people, is to say to them, is there a way I can help you? To offer to listen to them, because the first step in helping people is not telling them what to do. It's not solving their problems at all. The first step is letting them know, I'm listening to you, share your problem with me, so that all of a sudden the problem is much less heavy on you because you know there's somebody sharing it. The first step is always to befriend and to listen.
Life is many things, but certainly one of the most important principles in life is a search for control. Sadly, many people spend their entire lives looking in the wrong direction. They're trying to control the stimulus. They're trying to control, to influence, persuade, threaten, otherwise buy off other people. That's not real control. That control leads to even more stress, more bad decisions, missed opportunities, and a feeling of frustration that just becomes cyclic and a vicious cycle at that. But when you understand the control that you're looking for is not in controlling what's done to you, but in how you look at it and how you choose to respond, you found something very, very powerful. Imagine this whole idea. The control that everybody's looking for at work and every place else in their life, just a sense of being able to get a grip. Stop the world. I want to get off. Could I at least slow it down a little bit? Where could I have some input? Well, it's not in controlling what's done to you. Let go of that. Oh, you can duck or dodge. Even the matador doesn't take the bull head on, steps out of the way at the last minute. You don't have to just stand there and take it. And sometimes you'll be successful at influencing or persuading or cajoling or seducing, whatever you want to call it. But I'm telling you, your power is not there. Your power is in taking that mindful step back, getting the bigger picture, that more genuine sense of who you are as the one who chooses, and then choose your attitude, your point of view, your perspective, and then choose your response. Substituting consciously, as we'll show you how to do in this very program, even-tempered, well-reasoned responses for those knee-jerk reflexes.
So you move into this state with one slow, conscious, deep breath. You release your stress physically, emotionally, intellectually. You just get calm and focused. And what happens is when you have a thought, you get to choose whether to say yes or no to it. When you have a feeling, you get to decide what to do with it. For example, if something happens and you feel anger, with that one slow, conscious, deep breath, you can choose to take a look at that anger and see what it teaches you about you instead of becoming an angry person. Instead of behaving angrily, you can go into that anger and understand the hurt beneath it. See, the difference between reacting and responding is reacting is you'll do what you did last time, and somebody calls you a name and you just call them a name back. Somebody starts to get angry and you get angry back. But responding is choosing this time instead to do it better. Choosing this time to say, wow, that made me feel anger. Now, what am I going to do? What's the best thing I can do with that feeling of anger? Well, because I feel anger, something inside of me must be hurt. What's hurting inside of me by what they said? And learning that about yourself is the most valuable thing. Now you become a person who is managing your emotions. You're having your emotions. You're feeling the same anger you would have felt. You're just not jumping at people with it. You're just choosing to do what's really important is learn about yourself.
And by that, Steve means your genuine self, your higher self. It's as if we're saying there's really two of you within the ultimate unity of things. There's your better nature and then your not so good nature.
All those other voices.
Yeah, and who is that guy? That's the guy, often pathetic, the man or the woman, that is busy trying to please other people to earn from them some sense of acceptance or love, or just want somebody to pay attention to me. It's what happens when we lack self-confidence, when we don't know the higher self, the one that we're saying you can become mindfully with a breath and the self-reliance, the personal responsibility, and the sense of, I think this is the best part, freedom. This is not a burden to be responsible. It's not blame you instead of other people. This is liberty, the pursuit of happiness, of life itself, to rely on yourself, to be responsible. This is not a political ethic. This is freedom. This is liberty. I choose to be the one who chooses.
So as you take that one slow, conscious, deep breath, it all starts with that because it's just the decision to do that, really. I mean, it's stepping out of whatever you were mixed up in, whatever you were thinking about, whatever you were doing, and saying, wait, I'm going to take the step back here. I'm going to take the higher road here. I'm going to look at the bigger perspective. So you take that one deep, conscious breath. And now when you look at thoughts, you decide which to do with them. When you experience feelings, you decide how to respond to them. When you imagine performances, you imagine yourself doing what you want to do over and over again with great passion, creating the result you want to create in your mind. And when you imagine relationships, you imagine yourself being a person that everyone thinks makes very careful decisions, never makes careless mistakes, always is easy to be with, and is really, really helpful. And as you imagine yourself becoming that, you become that. And ask yourself in those moments that matter the most, how can I do this even better? How can I do this even better? And at the same time, it might even occur to you, how could I help the people I work with do what they do even better as well?
Yeah. Now we're talking about taking this better sense of who you are, the genuine self. This is your potential. And it continues to unfold. The good news is it really is the adventure, not the destination. You never get there when it comes to personal development and personal empowerment. You just keep unfolding and finding new talents and new gifts, and life becomes so rich and so wonderful. This is a part of prosperity that may be more important than money itself or property or anything else, is this sense of continual improvement and unfoldment at work and in every other area of your life. And not only regarding your relationship with yourself, but now let's talk about connecting, about relationship management, about empathy, about rapport, about leadership, And I think, Steve, we generally, when we get on this topic, we agree that leadership in relationships really starts with being a good listener.
It really does. The most valuable gift you give someone else is not your great advice. It's not your wisdom. The greatest gift you give them is to listen to what they have to tell you. Now, I'm not talking about people who are just like being victims and wanting you to like listen to their sob stories, but people who have problems, people who have issues, people who are going through crises in their life. Listen to them. And once they feel heard, now it feels half as heavy. It feels like there's somebody sharing the weight of it with me. Now they're in a way better and less stressed out place to understand how to solve their problem. So it feels better when you solve your own problems and don't have somebody else solve them for you. So give them the opportunity to solve their own problems by listening. That's the most important gift. First, be the first to befriend. Be the first to listen. Be the first to care. Be the first to show compassion and empathy. That's really the secret to relationship management. And understand that if you come feeling safe, and helping others feel safe, if you're honest and compassionate with your honesty, when something's much more important to them than it is to you, just, you let them have it. You let the little things go. You don't stress the small stuff. If you take the moment it takes sometimes to just see the world through their eyes, put yourself in their shoes and get a sense of whatever it is you're about to talk about from their point of view, and finally just understand and be the first. If there's an argument or discussion and you're into one of those, well, I'll apologize after he does, the mature, grown-up higher self will always be first. Because, you see, the higher self doesn't feel any fear except if the danger is real, except if you're being, like, chased by a wild animal or something, except if the danger is clear and present. The higher self always feels safe. So if you hear any fear in your voice, any doubt in your voice, any anger in your voice, that's not the voice we're looking for here. When you close your eyes, when you take that deep breath and you relax, the voice you'll hear feels safe. And so it speaks from a place of confidence and wisdom. It's your better nature. It's your higher self. It's the part of you that has the aha experiences. It's the part of you that always guides you in the right direction. It's just the part of you that knows you better than any other part and isn't being influenced by fear of rejection or fear of what other people think. It's being you.
So the second part, if listening is where we start in relationship management, in no particular order, come to think of it, we could mix the order up. But I think given where Steve's taking us here, we have to talk about acknowledgement and especially conflict resolution. What if you disagree? Now, what I'm going to promote here doesn't rely on the nature of the relationship. In other words, if you're at work and you're the boss and talking to somebody who works for you, who you can fire and write reports on and such, or vice versa, or you're talking to a peer or a coworker, these principles are the same. It's about providing leadership from your place of elegance and self-confidence in every single situation. So first, you're a good listener. And then, as Steve is discussing here, especially if the disagreement is significant and you see emotions rising, you see emotional turmoil or disturbance in the person you're communicating with, account for that and adjust for that by finding some part of their position that you can agree with and acknowledge that. This is absolutely magical. When you say with somebody who's starting to get upset with you and you find you're digging in your heels too, put down that tug-of-war rope. You initiate to putting it down and refusing to play tug-of-war and who's going to be right. Substitute that for understanding and say, well, one thing I understand that you're saying that I really agree with, it could be the really insignificant minor little point, but the fact that you acknowledged it defuses the situation, and now you provide the leadership. Like, well, I can relate to that. I used to feel that way about this other job, and I was right where you are now. I can totally relate to that. But what I found was, you see, rather than just argue, you can take them by the hand and gently lead them in another direction if part of that listening process is acknowledging what truth you can find, what merit there must be. There must be some merit. You might think they're 99% wrong, then acknowledge the 1%.
You have to, because you have to find a way to be on the same side. It's got to be you and them against the problem instead of you against them to solve the problem. You see, you're working for the same place. You're on the same team. You can't win an argument with a person on your team, because when a person on the team loses, the team loses. It lowers morale. It makes everybody feel bad. It makes the next time you guys are going to be together worse. I mean, It always works out better to create a win-win. In a relationship, we understand that. Those of you who have been married who understand you never win an argument with your spouse, or as Bill Cosby said, if you ever do win an argument with your spouse, apologize immediately. It's the same thing in your work. You can argue with people that you're competitors with, or people that you're against in some kind of sports thing, but don't argue with people on your own team. Find a way to be on the same side. Find a way to find some kind of agreement. Find a way to see the world through their eyes too. And if you do that, if you close your eyes and imagine you're them and like, how would they see this? You'll find a way to find something that they're saying is right.
And the third point in relationship management, there's a lot more than just these three, but this is a good place to introduce you to the idea, has got to be the leadership that comes out of asking good questions. Now, the power of questions is not generally appreciated. A lot of us have this stigma from childhood that I'm afraid to ask a question in class because then I'll appear to be stupid. There's extraordinary power and authority in being the one who asks the question. I learned this as a journalist. I could totally control an interview by the questions I asked. I didn't need to manipulate or manage or misportray the answers, you see. And interestingly, the shorter the question, the more power it has. Some long, convoluted, self-involved question where you're trying to demonstrate how much you know, no power at all. But how about, well, can you tell me more about that? Well, why did you feel that way? Or how about the most powerful question of all? Why? And then you cycle back into number one. You listen. You acknowledge the bits you can agree. Even if there's conflict and adversity, you still look for the merit in their argument, acknowledge that, and then continue to use questions. And here's the secret. This whole thing has to be set in a context of you really being interested in other people because you're interested in yourself. This is a choice you have to make also. There's no such thing as a boring life. And there are no boring people, really. There's just people that don't know it's their job to initiate some interest, to decide, to choose to be fascinated in who I am, why I think and feel this way, and to give up our helplessness and our victimization, to a large extent anyway, and trying to figure out other people, to control other people, and instead turn your attention as soon as you can to an interest in who am I and why do I feel that way. Now you have an internal dialogue where you're communicating with yourself.
And when you are communicating yourself and the negative thoughts and feelings come up, this is what you want to happen. You encourage your negative thoughts and feelings to come up so that you can render them inert, so that you can release them. And that deals with the acute inner cause of stress in your life. And, of course, to deal with the chronic cause of stress in your life, dealing with the external world, what you have to do is feel safe. To deal with the danger out there, you need to take moments off. You need mini vacations. You need ways of escaping from all that out there to go to a place inside where you feel safe and powerful, a perfect place of peace, a place that we call paradise. Technically, it's the alpha brainwave state. It's the state that's found in every form of self-improvement. Every time people close their eyes and attempt to purposely get better, they slow down their minds and they move into this focused concentration, amplified, passionate interest, alpha brainwave state. We call it focused passion, and we call it paradise. And it always starts as you close your eyes and take a deep breath and create in your mind a peaceful place. You might see it from a memory or a fantasy. You might hear the sounds or just feel the feelings there, the breeze or the sun on your face or the way your feet feel digging into the earth. Just ground yourself and find yourself in this peaceful, beautiful place, a place that feels safe and powerful, a place that feels like paradise.
Yeah, we're going to do it now. You're already doing it, see? Now choose to take just a couple of more minutes to fully come into this level where confusion falls away and reveals truth and validity, authenticity, where emotional turmoil becomes undisturbed and tranquil. And you get focus and clarity from managing your stress, the mental and emotional and physical benefits of just taking a few minutes to tell your brain, hey, I'm really safe. There's no danger here. and substitute relaxation for fight or flight. And take a look at your problem or your desire to set a goal in this quieter place of focus and passion.
And in this place, with your stress levels released, this place of paradise of perfect peace, you can ask yourself, what do I want the most? And listen for the answer. Sit receptive and let yourself hear from your higher self the answer to what do I want the most. And then, when you do know what you want, but you don't know how to get it, you imagine that you have it. You imagine what you do want as if you already have it now, and you imagine that over and over again, and you imagine it with great passion. With great passion, and that's how you find your focus. You find your focus by asking yourself, what do I want the most, and listen for the answer, and then programming your mind to get it with suggestions that are both positive, in the present tense, practiced with great repetition, and experienced with magnificent passion. Now, the passion can be enthusiasm or a quiet confidence. Passion can be excitement, or it can be just a sense of knowing that it's going to come true. Any kind of emotion will do. Imagine what you want as if you've already got it over and over again with great, great passion. And when you deal with others, be first to befriend. Be first to listen. Be honest with compassion. Let the little things go. And know that you can help other people grow too. So ask yourself, what do I want the most, and how do I get it? And then imagine that you have it with great passion, and then ask yourself, how can I help those people I work with get what they want the most too? How can we all grow together and make the dreams of this company come true?
And if you find yourself overthinking it, like you're still trying to figure it out, to parse it, to slice it and dice it, take a breath and go even deeper. And stand receptive and open to new ways of looking at things. If your situation was an object that you could walk around, then walk around it. Empathize with other people who are involved. Just put yourself in your imagination, literally, virtually, put yourself in their shoes. Look at it from their point of view, especially if it's something that irritates you or frustrates you. Walk around to the other side, over, under, sideways, down. Ask yourself, is there another way of looking at this? Remind yourself, I have choices, and there are always more choices than are immediately apparent. And then as you realize that choice, that option, as you identify it, as you choose it, then, as Steve just described, recycle that feeling of I've already got it, asking as if it's a done deal. Give little or no thought as to what it would take to get here. That's for later when your eyes are open. But right now, just dream the dream and imagine that it's a done deal, that you already have it. Act as if it were impossible to fail, or better said, as if your success were guaranteed somehow. This is going to come about, and the feeling that you're just making it all up is exactly the right feeling.
And imagine it with the greatest of intentions. But then, once you've imagined exactly what you want, as if you've already got it over and over again with great passion, let it go. Hold it lightly and release, because that way you make room for something that could even be better than what you want, what you need. So, imagine what you want as if you've already got it over and over again with great passion, and then hold loosely and allow the universe to give you something perhaps even better or something that might not look quite as good, but wrapped in it is the lesson that you need to really appreciate what you do want when you finally do get it. So this is the place, this space. You close your eyes, you take that one slow, conscious, deep breath, and you find yourself here in paradise. This is the most important thing to remember of all. Every day, many, many times a day, you close your eyes, you take a deep breath, you release your physical tension, and you find yourself in paradise. Because when you remember to do this, everything else that you thought about and that we shared with you will come back to you. All you need to do is remember, over and over again, all day long, when you notice some physical tension in your body, when you notice some feelings of anxiety, when you notice a little bit of confusion, when you don't know what to do, whenever you don't know what to do, whenever you can take a few seconds, and even in the middle of a conversation, you get to say, wait a minute, let me think about that for a moment. Let me think about that for a moment, and close your eyes and take that one slow, conscious, deep breath and release and find yourself in paradise. That place of perfect peace. That's the most important thing to remember. That's the most important thing to do over and over every day to make this whole thing come true. Just close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let your tension release. Find yourself in paradise, this place of perfect peace. And you can ask yourself, what do I want? And you'll know in which direction you want yourself to grow, and you'll imagine what you want as if it's already true. You'll imagine over and over with great passion inside of you, and that's what you'll create. And you know what will happen. You'll be a happy being, and you'll manifest a unanimous opinion, yours and everyone that knows you too. They'll think, well, here's a person who has thoughtful decisions, careful in what they do. Here's a person who's fun to be with, really I enjoy, and they're so helpful because of the tools they employ. So you can be that person. You are that person. Just allow the stress to go. Release it with a breath, and whenever you can, let yourself go to this peaceful place. Remember that most of all. Go to this peaceful place, and in your workspace, people will think you're 10 feet tall.
You don't need to quiet your mind or calm your emotions to come to paradise thinking, this alpha brainwave level. Instead, you practice coming to this place with our help or by repeating what you're learning here today. And the mind naturally will begin to quiet, and the emotional nature will become more peaceful, like the surface of a pond that becomes as smooth as glass. And you practice feeling safe and relaxed, and returning for a matter of moments, a couple of minutes, 15 minutes or more, with just a breath and a feeling of letting go. It's not that this level of mind is always the best place to be in. Sometimes you want the adrenaline to pump. You want to get excited. You want to express that passion with high enthusiasm, perseverance, and determination. And sometimes you need to multitask and keep all those plates spinning. It's just a matter of knowing which is appropriate and knowing that it's this place that you come to as a source where you recharge your batteries, where your awareness and insight and understanding is greatly expanded, your awareness is heightened. Just keep practicing it. And if you find yourself distracted, acknowledge that as soon as you find you're distracted. Let it go gently. Don't beat yourself up or fight with it. Just let it go and gently put your attention on whatever it is that you're pondering, reflecting upon, and stand open and receptive. You don't have to always figure things out with slicing and dicing and parsing and deductive logic. Come here, balance that with just a few moments each time, but several times or many times a day. Gearing down or gearing up, depending on your point of view, coming to this wonderful place And like a sponge, you'll just begin to soak up all of this insight and understanding. Feelings you can bring with you as you come back into the waking state.
So you'll remember to respond to your negative thoughts and feelings by releasing, and do that for a few days, and it'll become autopilot. It'll become a habit. And you'll also remember regularly to find yourself in paradise, to bring yourself back to this peaceful place. And it's really easy to get here. It's really easy. All you have to do is decide you want to. And it's also really easy to come back. So let's do that now. Take a deep breath. Reorient yourself into the space you're in. Take another deep breath. Oh, I love those deep breaths. And find yourself back to wide awake.
Check it out. If you don't believe us, do a little Google research yourself. Feeling safe changes brain chemistry, and that's your reality. A slow, deep breath and a letting go feeling of muscular tension changes your reality. It changes the brain chemistry, and everything's different then. Instead of fighting against life and feeling like an effect, that brain moves from the lizard brain we've had for several million years to the cortex, and you begin higher brain functions, and you understand you're more than your thoughts. You're the one that can choose, and you're more than your feelings, your intentions and what you care about. And you're even more than that. You're the caring that you have naturally for other people. And life begins to become more harmonious and more beautiful, richer and more diverse. It's everything. I mean, it just couldn't be simpler, and yet the implications are so all-inclusive. You know tension degrades. Anytime you put yourself or somebody puts you under pressure, you might do better and better to a point, but if the pressure increases, bang, you hit that point of diminishing return and you just go to pieces. Okay, that's the essence of sports psychology. Psych up, but not too much. Well, the same is true mentally and emotionally. Okay? So find that balance point in these states of peace and relaxation where you're passionate and you care, but you just get the bigger picture and everything becomes so natural. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think this kind of personal responsibility and self-reliance not only is not a burden, but is the essence of liberty. This is freedom. This is the freedom you're looking for, the freedom to be the one who makes these choices about your identity, about your motives, what you care about, and how you relate to other people.
And, you know, that's the thread that runs through all of our shows and all the shows we've done. Michael and I started doing radio together back in the late 1970s. We had our own radio show together for a long time in Los Angeles, and now we're doing this audio program, Finding Yourself in Paradise. And we've been working together for 30 years. And
now we're all over the world on the internet.
That's
I mean,
right.
The potential here is...
And we're together at FocusPassion.com doing this. And, you know, this is a special show because this is our first show of our second year of doing this particular audio program, Finding Yourself. This is our 53, episode 53. So, you know, it occurred to me we ought to go back over some of our favorite shows that we've done in the past and show them how this is the thread, this state of focused passion, this mindfulness. You know, I was thinking we've got this special coming up, a 4-part series on learning with your children, family learning hour. It's really kind of cool.
Family learning hour.
But I was thinking of a previous 3-part series we sort of did that sort of just came out that way. It wasn't intended, but 3 of my favorite shows. We did a show on the idea of having big dreams, deciding what you really want the most. I think we called it Big Dreams and Great Expectations. And we followed that with a show called Getting Started. And we followed that with a show called Perseverance. Now, to me, that was a really cool trifecta. You know, that was a great combination of shows.
The 1, 2, 3 punch.
We've had some great shows before, and we've got some great ones coming.
I remember a show we did not long ago, Steve, called Dealing with Difficult People.
That was a great one.
Got a lot of good feedback on that. And how to ask for help. I think a lot of people found value in that because some of us may still be stigmatized from our schooling experience, afraid to ask a question, afraid to appear stupid, when there's enormous power, as we just discussed, in asking those questions.
Yeah, shows on forgiveness and gratitude and problem solving and decision, all kinds of wonderful things. But I'm really, really excited about this new one coming up. The next 4 shows are going to be a powerful family learning hour. We're going to give you essentially what the school system has failed to give children. I mean, this has been such a passion for me all my life. School teaches kids what to learn, but it has failed to teach them how to learn. And that's so important. Kids need to learn this stuff. And these 4 episodes coming up, we're going to teach kids accelerated reading, study, memory, and test-taking skills. We're going to show them how to listen with great focus and how to manage their thoughts and their feelings and their performance and their relationship, how to ask for help, how to resolve their conflicts, and how to truly understand how to work together as a team. This is the kind of stuff that our school system has failed to teach our children. And in just 4 weeks, 1 hour once a week with your family, you spend 40 minutes either together listening to these or each individually listening to these 40-minute podcasts, these programs, and then come together for 20 minutes and discuss the basic concepts we talked about in reading, study, memory, test-taking, and the nature of learning how to learn. I mean, in 4 weeks, every participant, every family member will more than double or triple their reading speed, and some even more than that, and dramatically improve their comprehension and their memory and their ability to perform under pressure. This is a powerful family training, and I've spent my whole life, and so have you, Michael, really 30 years together developing this program, and we have it. It's available. We're now giving it away. We're giving it away to people. Just come to focuspassion.com, and you'll get this training, and you can help us get this training out to a lot more people. Any contribution you make, as little as 99 cents a week, guarantees 100 more families will get this program. So you can be really helping us in our powerful way of changing the world, and of course that starts with you.
Yeah, now don't be confused. This is not homeschooling. This is a family learning hour. This is the family as a fundamental learning unit, where there's mutual respect and lots of love and wonderful benefits for improving the quality of communication. But the curriculum is singular, in a sense. It's about how to learn. You take it into what to learn, and it can include academics, and it can include your hobbies and avocations and other interests, depending on whether you're a student or an adult who sees life as a learning experience. 1 hour a week, as Steve was saying. Imagine, for 4 weeks, you get an agreement from everybody of every age. Get grandma and grandpa in here, too. Get the kids, get everybody. And either listen to it together or make sure everybody commits to listening to it at some point during the week and then coming together and discussing it for about 20 minutes. We'll even guide you on how to do that so that you can teach each other how to learn and reinforce these proven tools, skill sets, many of which we've developed and many of which are permutations or variations on proven techniques that are already out there in the larger field called accelerated learning. But this is alpha learning in a family learning unit. And again, it's harmless. We're asking an hour a week for 4 weeks. I'm real excited. I just think this is so cool. And what a great reason to get the family together.
It is, and every participant will learn to read with greater passion and greater focus, and every participant will have a technique for studying. I mean, from the moment you open the book to the time you take the test, help your kids, help yourself be a better learner. And understand, this is really about listening to each other as a family. It's about learning about each other's differences and uniquenesses. This is about coming together deeper and closer as a family, as well as teaching your children and yourself better techniques for accelerated learning. We're really excited about this program. We want you to let everybody know about this program. And it doesn't have to end with these 4 programs. Just listen and discuss. It couldn't be any easier. Bring the family together. Ask questions like, well, why do you feel that way about this? Or how are you going to use this in your life? Or what do you think they meant when they said? You know, there's lots of easy questions. Each program will provide you with some discussion questions you can use to guide your family through the lessons. The first one is on reading and study. The second one is on memory and test-taking and performance. The third one is on managing your thoughts, your feelings, your performance, and your relationships. And the final one is on your attitude and getting interested in subject matter and being the one who becomes a great learner. 2 steps out of being a victim of learning and steps into the power seat and becomes an alpha learner.
One of my favorite features on the whole website at focusedpassion.com is the Send One to a Friend gadget. And all you do is choose one of the programs that you've heard that we've provided for you, put a little check mark in the box on the internet, add your friend's email, and whoosh, off it goes. So if we do a program on attention deficit disorder or sleep disorders or eating disorders or peak performance or accelerated learning, and you know someone, well, obviously, somebody's going to come to mind. As someone comes to mind, you say, boy, this would be perfect for them. You just put in their email, push the button, and it's done. We'll send the email for you with a link so they can listen to that program as a gift from you on us. Pretty cool.
And if you know anybody who is overweight, we just did a program on releasing excess pounds. Both Michael and I have released over 50 pounds each in the last year. So it's doable. We set our minds on it. We decided that it was something we needed to do, and we've each released 50 pounds. So we've got lots of great shows. FocusedPassion.com. Send your friends to FocusedPassion.com. We want to give this away. Any family that you know, any caring parents that you know that want to help their children learn how to learn, just send them to FocusedPassion.com.
Hey, thanks so much for your attention and for your interest and for your willingness to tell other people who you think are interested in this personal empowerment site, in accelerated learning, and finding your focus by managing your stress. Stress management, for more than the wonderful health benefits that you'll get for the peak performance, the emotional intelligence, and the ability to find mental clarity and focus. You'll be smarter, drive your IQ right off the map as you learn to practice these techniques, and we'll send them to you week after week after week, either as a streaming audio on the website, or you can manually download it. We can podcast it right into iTunes for you, or your other RSS reader. If you don't know what that means, find a teenager. They'll tell you.
They'll know.
Yeah. And, hey, again, thanks for listening. And as always, be gentle, love life, and take care of each other. For Steve Snyder, this is Michael Benner.